I think it's fun to get the perspective of people who are heading on to their first national finals rodeo, especially folks who have accomplished so much outside of the rodeo arena before they qualified for their first Wrangler NFR, if that makes sense. And LaTricia Duke certainly, I think, falls into that category. LaTricia, welcome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been around barrel racing your whole life. You've trained horses that have run at the NFR. Now you get to go for the first time. You've had a chance to digest the fact that you've made it. What are you thinking? We're a couple of weeks out from the National Finals Rodeo.
To be honest, it still doesn't even seem real. I've checked my callbacks a few times to see if it said drawn out due to qualification yet. It's like we grow up as kids. I was exposed to rodeo, but I chose a different career path young, and that was to train horses for financial reasons. But I never dreamed this was even a possibility for me. And so I really am still in shock, like really still in shock.
I'm right when I say you have trained horses that have run at the NFR, several, right?
Yes, sir. There's 4 or 5 of them that have gone on and been very successful with rodeo girls that I've futuried. And gosh, but I've always said this, and I truly believe this, that, like I taught those horses to the barrel pattern. A great one's a great one. I mean, they just are. You try not to mess them up and teach them the pattern and try not to mess them up. But those girls that took them, and I said this before I'd ever rodeoed, that they made them rodeo horses. I taught them the pattern. I did the easy part. Teaching them to be rodeo horses is a whole different level. And now I truly believe that. I thought maybe I had more to do with it on those horses that went on and had success than what I might have really had to do with it, because wow, it's a whole nother world out there.
Yeah, it really is different. I want to talk about all of that in just a minute. I want to talk to you about Palomino Stallion, who happens to be, I think, 7 years old this year. You call him Vanilla Wafer. I don't know if folks can see the shirt you're wearing, but he's got his name on your shirt. He's done a lot for you this year, not just get you to the NFR, take you over $2 million in lifetime earnings. I think you told me before rodeo. Tell me about Vanilla Wafer.
He's my everything outside of my son. I mean, I had a rough the last couple of years have been kind of rough. It's its own story, but that guy got me up out of bed every morning and got me to the barn. And it sounds silly probably, but he is really my best friend. When I got home from the summer and put him in the stall and came to the house, I had a little bit of an anxiety panic attack being without him. I'm around him. All summer, 24/7, and he's special. He was a gift from God for me. He's generational of horses I've raised and ran, and I get a little teary eyed every time I talk about it because he is that special to me. He's just honest and kind and a gift from God.
His breeding French streak to Vegas on the top side out of a mare named Happy to Run'em. Is there anything about those bloodlines that you have had a lot of success with through the years? Is that something that you looked at when you did you raise this horse or did you buy him?
I raised him.
Yeah.
I bought it's kind of a neat story, really. I bought his second down through the Stephenville Friday night horse sale. She was in a killer pen for $400. My ex-husband, Joe, and I did. She went on and raised several horses that won the BFA. Vanilla Wafer's mom, Happy to Run him. I won the AQHA World Honor back when it was really hard to win 100,000. I won over 100,000 on her in the futurities and derbies. She had an amazing work ethic and probably one of the most beautiful animals I ever rode. I kept her, bred her. Her work ethic was great. French Streak to Vegas' work ethic. That horse won his futurity year with 5 different riders. That's an amazing to be work ethic on a horse. That's what I was going for, was a horse that would be willing and try. And Jamie Robinson came to me one day and said if I ever wanted to do that cross, she would be willing to help me. So we did, and the rest is Vanilla Wafer. It was kind of neat. At I think Reno and Cheyenne, there was Tiffany Lucian's mare. has the same second down as Vanilla Wafer does. And that was kind of fun to have out of Lady Rompin, the old mare that I bought at the sale. And so, I mean, it's kind of fun to see the bloodlines run pretty deep.
So I want to make sure I understand what you said. You said that you bought the mare the Vanilla Wafer's out of, Happy to Run 'em, out of a killer pen for $400?
No, her dam, Lady Rompin.
Oh, her dam. Okay, got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got that story right, because I think that that doesn't happen very much. Go ahead.
She's been a huge part of my program for a really long time, and we have some frozen embryos out of her still. But I mean, what an amazing mare that was never broke to ride. But every baby that she had went on and was winners and producers, and that's been a fun story on its own for me to watch her genetics that were so close to ending go on and be so successful.
Yeah. So LaTricia, let me ask you, because he's a stallion, has he gotten to a point where he's going to have some offspring on the ground, or already has some?
His oldest babies are yearlings. They're coming 2-year-olds, so we haven't got to ride any of them yet. They look, the majority of them, I mean, not all, but the majority of them look so similar to him. That same long neck, little pretty head. I think he's going to be a producer. They're smart. They're easy. And fingers crossed when we start breaking them right after the first of the year, what we have.
Yeah. How is he to haul? How is he to be around, because he's a stud?
You know, I'm lucky in the fact that he's been super easy the whole time that I've had him. Now he's bred enough, had enough breeding seasons. He knows he's a stallion. When I unload him somewhere, he'll nicker and announce to the world that he's there. I drive a lot of extra miles. Poor Jordan Driver, you know, because we've hauled together for the last 2 years. I managed somehow the last 2 years. He's never stayed in panels at a rodeo, and he's never stayed behind hot wire. He's terrified of hot wire, so he wouldn't go through it. But anybody that's been out back at a rodeo knows that half the time there's horses out and run through everybody's hot wire and tear everything down. So we drive a lot of extra miles. I find places to keep him. It's crazy how many people will let you come to their place, keep your horses there. From barrel racers to ropers to bulldoggers that will help me find places, arenas to keep him at, because I'd never been to the Northwest till last year. And so, you know, people just helping you find places to keep him that are safe. And so that's a problem, I guess, in the fact that I drive a lot of extra miles to keep him safe. But as far as riding him, getting in the holding pen, once you go down there and you're in the holding pen or you're in the alley, he's all business. And then there's no talking, no studs up. And he's, knock on wood, he's never studded up in the pattern ever.
Well, good for you. Good for him. So I did an interview with Jordan Driver yesterday, as we're talking today. And she was mentioning that you're taking one of her horses as a backup at the NFR just in case. You obviously Vanilla Wafer will be the one that you're hoping you make all 10 rounds on. What's your plan at the national finals?
You know, I've never been, so I'm just kind of playing it by ear, but I kind of roll that way anyway. I mean, what a friend that would let you take a horse the quality of her judge horse, the gray horse. Such an amazing animal. And gosh, I when I called her and asked her about it, I was like, I have the hardest question I've ever asked anybody ever. Can I borrow him? And she was like, absolutely. But I'm taking Judge. I would love to make all 10 rounds on Vanilla Wafer. I'll let him tell me that. He seems to be a horse that gets stronger with runs. He got a little sore after Waco, so I've been a little bit keeping an eye on him on that. Randy's been working on him. So, you know, I'm just going. I'm a roll with it kind of girl. Obviously, because when I got to Reno, I didn't have a lot of money won this year. The NFR was not really on my radar. So he's pulled through every time I've needed him, and I'm just going to see what happens, and I think he'll tell me if he needs a break.
Yeah. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is kind of tell me about this year, because you all of a sudden in the summer, I remember reaching out to you a few times before rodeos that I announced that you were entered in, and tell me about your horse and how's it been going. And every time it seemed like I looked at you, you were a little higher up in the standings. You won second in Cheyenne. You did well out in the Northwest, won rodeos like Moses Lake, Washington. When did it start to appear on your radar that maybe, just maybe, you could be one of the top 15 in the world?
Well, like I tell you, I still don't believe it happened. So, but no, it popped in my head the first time at Cheyenne. He won, quite a bit of money there for me, winning second there. And I thought, wow, this could maybe happen, but you don't want to get wrapped up in that. I've always said you take one run at a time. And so then there was some bumps along the way. I knew that he liked Ellensburg, and I drug a barrel the first round at Ellensburg to place really good, and had the first meltdown that I'd had in years. At the trailer between the rounds, I completely melted down. And I didn't even remember this, but I told a lady, and she reminded me of it later, that I passed her headed to the trailer, and I said, I just watched it all go down the toilet. Like, my whole year just ended today. And so I had my meltdown, and then I pulled it back together, and I was sitting there looking at him, and I thought, wow, what a blessing. There's so many people in the world would give anything to have a horse like him. And Kim Matthews, Stacey Matthews' mom, I called her, and she said, LaTricia, she said, if God wants you to be there, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And if you're not supposed to be there, there's nothing you can do to fix it. And I went with that attitude the rest of the year and decided to just enjoy my horse and enjoy the runs. And I really felt blessed to even be in the fight. And I'm not going to say it wasn't stressful, because it was extremely stressful, but just the opportunity to be in that fight was fun. And I got so close with the girls. And so, I didn't, at that point about Ellensburg, I just turned it over to God and was like, I'm just along for the ride, and thanks for giving me this horse to ride. And that was really how I finished the year.
You got to Sioux Falls, the last rodeo of the year, second in the first round, right behind Haley, and made it into the final four, finished third in the final four with a time of 13:86, which was one of the fastest runs of the rodeo, except for Haley went up with a 13:52 on that final run. But what was that like? Because all of a sudden, you weren't just in the top 15 after Sioux Falls, you were in the top 10. You're going into the NFR, 8th in the world.
It was fun. I knew after I won second in the first round that had set me up in pretty good shape. And then I was flying to California, and I was running the Ray horse out there, and he placed at Poway. And so I knew if I made the final 8 and got that, or the 8-man and got that check, that I was in. So my son had come out to help me drive the last 2 weeks, because Jordan had rodeos. And I looked at my son before that, and I go, I get to run barrels for fun. Like, I knew I was in. And so the last 2 runs of the season, I made for fun. And that was an absolute blast. Like, it was just me and Vanilla Wafer. It didn't matter where I placed. I wanted to do well, because we always want to do well. I'm a competitor, but it was just me and him having fun. And that was super neat. It really was, to just enjoy the night and no stress. And yes, it was a lot of money, and that was great, but it was neat to get to run barrels for fun.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a great perspective, to not have the stress and to know you got it made. And what have you done since the end of the regular season? Have you entered much, or have you kind of just let him go out and be a horse? What have you done?
I came home and I gave him a couple of weeks of just him being a horse. He gets really fat really fast. I had to put him on a diet this summer. But I went to Belleville and ran him there, 1 second at Belleville. I ran him at a jackpot at 377, because I knew the ground was good. It would be a good place to run him, and he won that. And then I went to the WPRE finals. He doesn't like that pin, number 1. And he didn't feel very good. And when I got back, I went straight to the vet on Monday, and he was sore. And so we're working on that now, and just trying to keep him from getting to be a fat kid between now and the finals, and keep him in shape. He stays in shape pretty good, because I guess that's probably part of being a stallion. He doesn't really get out of shape. He just gets fat.
Yeah. Am I remembering that he got you to the American last year, 2023, into the top 10 as one of the qualifiers? Is that right?
The year before.
So he
I
would have
drug a
been
barrel last year at Abilene when they had that deal at Abilene. I made it to there, and then I drug a barrel there. But yes, he did make the top 10 at the American 2 years ago.
as a 5-year-old then.
Yes, sir.
Wow. At that point, I mean, when a moment like that happens, do you look at him and go, okay, you're pretty good?
I don't know. I've always believed in him. I've always believed in that horse since the first day I took him around the barrels. He just felt like he was special. So I've always thought he was special. When everything was coming out and people were talking about Horse of the Year and the podcast on that stuff, I told my son, Brave It, I was like, I didn't even nominate him. So somebody nominated him. I don't know who it was, but it wasn't me. Because I love him, but you never think that the world loves him like you do. And so, I mean, it's kind of like your child. You know, you think your child's amazing, but you never know what anybody else thinks. So I'm very much of a realist, and there's such a crazy amount of great horses out there. I think any day you win first is there's a little bit of luck involved. So, excuse me, I'm just proud of him.
Yeah. Cassie's Jarvis horse was number 1. And you split the number 2 spot with Sister. That's pretty darn good company in the Horse of the Year award nominations.
That's crazy. I mean, Jarvis is phenomenal. I actually nominated Jarvis for Horse of the Year. That horse did it every time Cassie called on him. He went, okay, I'll just go win first. And the rest of us were like, okay, well, we'll try to win the other first, which we call second if Jarvis is there. But yeah, I mean, what an honor for other people to believe in your horse like that. And to even be put in the same sentence as Sister is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. I asked you for 15 minutes and we've gone longer than that. If you've got time, I want to talk a little bit about the other side of your life and the thing that you have spent most of your time doing, which is training and making horses. I went back and found, a lot of videos of you, teaching people how to barrel race and talking with some folks about what you look for in a barrel horse. The training thing and the jackpots and the big derbies and the big futurities. Did you realize how different those were from a rodeo until you actually realize? And you've been rodeoing for a long time. You've got earnings in the WPRA dating back a decade, but to really go out and see at the level you've been competing at this year, and then think about the derbies and the futurities and the big incentive races and the perfect ground and the drags every 5 and all that kind of fun stuff. It really is a different world, isn't it?
It's nothing like what I thought. It really is not. I had helped girls that had taken horses that I had and gone to the finals with them. And so I thought I knew stuff about rodeo. I was so wrong. It's way harder than I thought. The futurities and the derbies are hard, but they're humbling because you start over every year with a fresh set of horses. I've never gotten to know a horse like I thought I knew my horses before, but spending every minute with them all summer, I know this horse inside and out. It's harder, and there's never really time to school one. You have to let a bad run go because you're entered again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, the ground. I always thought the ground was probably. I'm gonna get hammered for this one. I thought the ground was probably worse than it really is at the rodeos. They've done such a phenomenal job dragging now and trying to make it better. So I don't think the ground's been that much of an issue. It's the bulls and the chuck wagons and the flags and the carnival and the fireworks and
the loud
miles on the trailer. That to me is more. It's the stuff outside the barrel pattern that is a bigger challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. And I agree with you on the ground, to be honest. If you're going to get hammered, so will I. I think rodeo committees have made a real effort for the most part to recognize that good ground for the barrel racers is good ground for everybody and have worked awfully hard on it. And, we take it for granted now. There's going to be a rake halfway through that didn't used to ever happen. I agree with you. I think after announcing rodeos for 30 years, I'm seeing a real new layer of or level of, I'm not sure what the right terms are, attention to ground conditions for everybody, including the barrel racers.
I agree, and it's so appreciated. But I think you see that with the results. I mean, I ran 2 O's this year and didn't get checks, and they paid 15 people. I mean, let's be real, like that's a fast run. And so you're seeing it in the times. I mean, I ran a 16 at Moses Lake. I mean, that's not an easy setup. It's deep ground. It's very movie, but they had done as good a job as they could with it. And when you start seeing horses running, I ran an 8 somewhere, 16-8 and won 5th. I'm like, hey, I want to win first if I win a 16-8 outside. Yeah. But you're seeing it in the times and the horses that win in the beginning of the year all the way through the end of the year. And I think that's ground related.
Have you, before I let you go, have you reached out to any of the NFR veterans, Lisa, Haley, Emily, Cassie, any of the folks that have been there multiple times and said, hey, tell me about this whole little teeny tiny basketball court we're about to run on 10 times. What's it like? Have you kind of asked for some advice, some help from any of the other folks that have been there a few more times than you have?
Absolutely. I've absolutely asked for help. Again, things outside the arena are just as scary for me. Coming from the Patrouille world, I ran in a lot of little pens, and I believe I'm a horse and I trust him. But it's all that other stuff that comes with it, like autographs and where to stay and when you need to be where and all of that. It's Emily Bossel's given me some great advice. She's such a sweetheart. So yes, I've asked a lot of questions and I've got a lot of help going with me. I have an amazing team. So, we're hoping that we're ready. I have not done probably what a lot of girls do. I haven't gone and ran in a bunch of little small NFR setup patterns. I feel like 10 days of that is enough to tighten one up. So I may be making a mistake there. I don't know. It's a decision that I made. My horse came from big outside pen and then won, running on standards and then won Omaha. So I feel like he'll be better if he's freer running, and he tries to be pretty honest if I ride honest. So I might have made a mistake there, but I haven't done all the little patterns. I've just kind of been trugging along like life is normal as of right now.
I have 2 final questions for you, LaTricia. Do you have a bunch of other horses that you are trying to get ready right now for, 3 or 4 year olds that you're trying to get ready to go next year because the turnaround, the new futurity season's about to begin? Are you balancing all of that out while you're getting ready to go to the National Finals Rodeo?
I'm trying, but I'm doing a terrible job of it. I did send a couple of colts this summer. There was no way I could take them. There just wasn't enough room in the trailer. So I sent a couple of colts, a half brother and a full brother, to Vanilla Wafer to Kalaloo to ride for me while I was gone. And when I get back from the finals, I'll pick those up and get started on those. But I needed some help. Cassie did it in 25 rodeos and I didn't. I did it in 80 something rodeos. So I was out there a little bit longer than she was. Of course, I never claimed to be Cassie because she's phenomenal. But so yes, I did. I reached out and I asked for some help. So Kyle's been helping me with that. And then I'll get on them. And I've got 2-year-olds broke. I sent those to a colt starter and they're back. And I've been a little bit scared to get on the 2-year-olds. I didn't really want to get hurt before the finals, but as soon as we get back, it's game on, and here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So here's Steve's dumb question of the interview, if I haven't already asked it. How many you're taking? Obviously, you're taking Vanilla Wafer. You're taking Jordan's Judge Horse as your number 2. What are you going to do for the grand entry? Is there something you're going to take down? I'm guessing you're not going to ride either one of them in the grand entry, but what's your plan there? And is that the moment when they say, here comes Texas, and you ride into the arena with all those other Texans, that it's going to be like, okay, I really did make it?
I keep thinking that moment's going to happen. That's when they say it happens. I am taking also that Ray of Fame, the other horse I ran this summer, placed on him at several rodeos. He did really well for me. He's a little bit, he'll get a little tight in that pen. So I'm counting on Judge as my number 2. And then Ray as number 3 if I need him. Dane Driver called me right after Sioux Falls and he said, okay, what do you need? Because they have been my biggest supporters for the last couple of years. I mean, the drivers have been my absolute backbone. And I said, I need a grand entry horse because I don't have anything that can go in the grand entry that I feel safe. So I'm taking one of their rope horses for a grand entry horse. And I just sitting here talking to you, even I'm like, I hope this is real and I'm not fixing to wake up from a dream. But if it is a dream, I don't want to wake up because it's been really fun.
Yeah. How Martha Josie told me years and years and years ago, the one thing that she would tell anybody is, you got to have a lot of people out there with you. You with all the other obligations, with sponsor obligations and all that, it takes a village to kind of get through all of this. And Martha's not the only person who's ever said that, obviously. Have you got people that'll just be there, whether it's the drivers or whoever, to help take care of horses and do all that while you take care of your other obligations, and maybe every once in a while try to rest and take a deep breath for a few minutes while you're in Vegas?
I do. My son Bravid is going. He also shoes Vanilla Wafer, and so him and Kimmy Bowler are staying right there with Vanilla Wafer the whole time, and my other horses. And then Jennifer and Jordan are gonna basically, I guess, be my keepers through this. Dane Driver's going down the alley with me to help me. So I have Jennifer and Jordan. I told Jordan I couldn't do this without her. You really learn to depend on somebody out there, and she knows me emotionally, and she knows when I'm up or when I'm down, and kind of what to say to help me. And I do the same with her, and plan on her being there next year. So she's going to get a big old dose of it this year. But no, you have to have help. And it's been that way all year, from the guys here at the ranch that took care of all the other horses while I was gone, and my son flying and helping me haul horses, and the drivers. It takes a lot of people, a lot of people.
Yeah, this whole thing, it takes a village for sure. It's interesting. You mentioned Jordan, and I was thinking, and the way Jordan finished 2024, don't be surprised if you don't have company in 2025, because she's been on a roll. So that'll be fun for you for sure if it happens.
Oh my gosh, to watch her the last 2 years where she started, and I felt like she might have been a little intimidated in the beginning until now. Now she is the intimidator. Where she wins the last 3 rodeos of the season or something, but that she runs at, and her college rodeos have been great. Her confidence level is so up there, and I get so nervous. I literally start shaking before she runs, and I love that kid so much, and I can't wait till she's sitting here doing this interview with you.
Yeah. LaTricia, I kept you way longer than I asked for, but I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed this. Don't worry about waking up, because it's real. And if it hasn't set in yet, the WPRA banquet will be December the 5th. And then that night you're going to go make a run at the National Finals Rodeo for the first time. So get ready, and they'll hand you a back number on December the 3rd. So it's all about to happen. Good luck and continued success with that great, beautiful Palomino stallion called Vanilla Wafer.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the interview.